The new era of Texans offense has become clearer. R&B, rhythm and balance will be the reason why Stroud and the offense will bounce back in 2025. And oh yeah, my bad, Nick Chubb.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode is for Texan fans all around. I'm your Texans football analyst and credential media member, John Hickman. To all of my everydayers from the Himalayas, thank you for coming back. Y'all know I appreciate it. First-time listeners and viewers, thank you for making Locked On Texans your choice today, making your choice tomorrow, and tomorrow after that, and every day after that, your team every day. Today's episode breaking down the Saturday's preseason game versus the Carolina Panthers. The highs, not a lot of lows, honestly. And I can't wait to dive into all of the positive takeaways that I got through 4 quarters, a full game against the Carolina Panthers. There was some great things to dive into. Who earned their paper? Who earned their paper? I'm going to highlight some stars or guys that could be stars in the future for Houston that I thought did a very good job with their opportunities and confidence building with reps. That matters, right? Improvements in the small details. Why I think the Houston Texans defense is much better than last year because of how they went about the offseason. But I kick off this show diving into R&B. Let's take it. Let's lower the lights. If you're at home listening, lower the lights right now. R&B, rhythm and balance is the new Texans offensive era, man. And I was extremely impressed. We got an opportunity to see the first team offense led by CJ Stroud, Ursary, Tomlinson, Andrews, Ingram, and Fischer was the starting offensive line for the day. No Titus Howard, no Cam Robinson. You know, my overall takeaways before I go into a deeper dive is the Texans showcased a strong start. The offensive line setting the tone early. Pass protection was consistent. The run game found lanes behind some good blocking. Nick Chubb got started, showing to be somewhat of his old self. 5 carries, 25 yards on the first 2 drives was very important in the scoring drive, but the balanced run pass rhythm, CJ Stroud looked comfortable, and the offensive line really did give flawless protection. Stroud went 6 for 8, 44 yards, and a tutty to Nico Collins. And this is where I want to start. But first, hear from CJ Stroud on what he liked over the past few weeks from his offensive line and their improvement, which really showed Saturday.
Yeah, I think our O-line is doing a great job. We're a run-the-ball team first, that wants to establish the run. And I think, we brought in guys who are tough, that like to run the ball. I think that's first and foremost. And then the communication, I think Cole Popovich has done a great job with those guys, coaching them tough, training them tough in practice, getting those guys ready for every day. Because, up there, bro, you got to be really gritty. Want to grind, want it dirty, want it, the worst way. And I think this O-line wants that. So I think he's done a great job. Him and Nick have done a great job making our plays fit our scheme and what the guys are good at. And then I think Tay has one of the best mindsets I've seen from a rookie, in my couple years in the league. He texted me the night he got drafted, and I texted him. I was like, "Hey, bro, excited to have you on the team." And he was like, "I'm going to die on the whole line for you, bro. I'm going to die out there." I was like, "All right, bro, appreciate that, man. I respect that, bro. I appreciate you saying that." So that's just his mindset. He wants to, be great. He asks the questions, going against Will and Daniil every day makes him really good. And I think, when he faces other guys, he's like, man, it's kind of easy, but he still keeps up that same tenacity and that same work ethic. So very mature guy, loves football, loves his teammates, and I think he's going to be great in this league.
Hey, CJ,
CJ Stroud just speaking glowingly about his offensive line, especially Ariante Ursary, who a lot of you guys joked if that was Larry Tunsil, he would have texted CJ Stroud about his Sheehan card. I just think that's funny. But despite many of our concerns about the offensive line and how it'll hold up in back-to-back weeks, they've shown significant improvements and performed well. And I want to emphasize the challenge of taking on Derrick Brown. Derrick Brown is one of the premier IDLs inside the offensive lineman in the NFL. That is no small feat. And though it wasn't a full game, and he get 4 quarters, but when he was out there, it was zeros across the board for his stat line. That's important. The IOL did a fantastic job of creating running lanes, playing physical, and just getting to the second level, whether that's by blocking a body from the line of scrimmage to the second level or meeting a backer in the creases of the running lane. Because of the offensive line performance, hey, you got a comfortable and in control CJ Stroud, who on the second drive, you saw him lead the charge from the offense, bringing the pressure to the defense. If you guys have been following me and watching or listening for a while, then you've heard me say too many times in 2024, the Texans offense just took what the defense gave them in terms of pressure and didn't do a good job of being able to kind of counterpunch that pressure, right? That was a problem, not reacting to it. But again, just like last week, everything was predicated on the ability to run the ball. Multiple 5-yard runs by Nick Chubb behind an effective offensive line blocking, especially from Fischer. We got to shout out Fischer. By the way, that starting unit didn't see any pressures, any QB hits, a hurry, or nothing. Nathaniel between them. So you look at the cohesiveness and how they are going about protecting their quarterback and being able to be dominant in the run game. Again, to Nick Chubb, 23 of the 60 yards on that scoring drive came from Chubb's effort on the ground. This gives Nick Caley all what he wants. Like Nick Chubb being able to run the ball this week, the scoring drive last week, we saw Darray run the ball effectively, and that says a lot. No disrespect to Darray, but Darray has never been in a situation where he's an RB2, let alone an RB1. He's normally been regulated to RB3 special team role. So to see him run the ball as well as he did, and then the following week, if you're coming into the week, I said, hey, listen, Nick Chubb didn't blow me away. I don't know if he's going to make this roster. They love Dameon Pierce. Does he have more juice? All of that being said, to see how well Nick Chubb ran the ball in volume of carries, right? I think that matters. That gives Nick Caley exactly what he wants to run this offense. This offense is going to be built on space and how Caley can manipulate opposing defenses in that space to work in favor of the offense. And they'll do so physically and with tempo. Like that's probably the headline. The Texans offense with the first team unit was physical and ran with tempo. I think that may be the headline, honestly, guys. I was extremely encouraged by the showing of the first team offense. CJ Stroud missed one deep on the first drive to Nico Collins, but bounced back with a TD to Nico. This is what Texan fans wanted to see when Nick Caley was announced to be the offensive coordinator, with all of the CJ Stroud taking on more on his plate, right? The question marks at moving on from Laramie and bringing in guys that have been, vets in the league, but between Thomason and Ingram, they've been, especially last season, graded low on a lot of the advanced stats, right? How they were going to bounce back and, recreate this offensive line to be more physical. And honestly, guys, based off of what we had an opportunity to see Saturday, they got it right. To this point, they've gotten it right in 2 preseason games. Preseason game matters. Joint practices matters. They've got it right so far. Now, coming up defensively, the improvements are in the details of the roster makeup, guys. When you look at who is the star, who's going to be the stars, we know that, but it's all about positions 35 to 53. Those guys, and on the defensive side of the ball, we saw some players that are depth pieces that made plays Saturday, which I think is very impressive. More Locked On Texans on the other side. NFL season is here. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes, which is very important. But how do you know what actually works for you? I think that's important. Finding your niche for you. With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming to figure out what's true and what will actually help. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp can make all of the difference. You get real personalized guidance instead of just guessing based on something you saw on social media. That's very important. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform serving more than 5 million people. It's easy to fit into your schedule, just a click to connect, and you can even switch therapists anytime if you need to. Can't switch teams around here. You're a Texan fan, be a Texan fan, but you can switch therapists. So there is you can look at switching when it works for you. Stay down with your team, switch if you need to. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/locked on. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. Battle Red Nation, listen, you guys kind of disappointed me a little bit. I was looking at the broadcast and I said, hey, man, I know it's preseason game, but where them bodies at? So when Tampa comes to town, week 2, please tailgate. Get there early to tailgate. Turn up, of course, so you can march our behinds in NRG Stadium and turn up for your Houston Texans. I really believe that as they went through the process of cultivating a different culture, cultivating a different culture on the offensive side of the ball, like Cole Popovich, and how for a moment, let me take this. I got to take a moment to shout out Cole Popovich. Cole Popovich has done a great job in coaching. You can give coaches players, and sometimes the expectation is the players are figuring it out because the players are going to get paid millions and the draft stock and everything that comes with it. But if the coaching isn't there, it won't matter. Some guys can overcome it, but you look, perfect example, Laremy Tunsil was Laremy Tunsil. He can overcome it, but left guard, center, right guard, tackle, are they able to overcome it? So as they moved on from a extremely talented player, you look at the dip in talent. Now you look at the rise in playing together, and an offensive line absolutely needs to play together to be successful. Before I dive into the defense, hear from Coach Ryans on what he was hoping to see and love that he saw it from the offense, which is the talk of the town. We trust the defense, but hear from Coach Ryan on this offense.
Overall from this game and set out and the goal by playing the starters was just to see us go out and play real football. We haven't done that, I believe, in getting real reps in games, and it means a lot for our guys to be able to go out and be able to do that. And I just wanted to see our guys go out, play efficient, play fast, like do the things we've been coaching the guys to do, and execute. And you always want to see the offense, have nice drives and finish with a score, and they did that. To see CJ get out, get some live reps, and see him and Nico and their connection, they're in a really good spot. Expect to see them to continue that. Just really proud of the offensive line again. I think this is the second week in a row now that they're just improving. They're getting better. See, we're able to run the football. Again, Chubb did a really nice job playing physical, running behind his pass. Just like the way just the whole team played a physical brand of football, the type of football that I expect us to play, and I'm really proud of the guys for that.
Shout out to Juice Scruggs, and again, another week where I thought he performed well. He's going to be a depth piece for this team, which again I'm gonna dive into the depth. But he has really done a good job of, I think, reinventing himself and knocking off some of that funk, that odor of just being bad at his job last year. Got to commend the players when they do well, and Juice Scruggs deserve some praise. Now, one thing about Coach Ryan's that I've really noticed when I've been out there, he's been spending a lot of time on the offensive side of the ball during practice. And by the way, I love the coaching relationship with Coach Ryans and Matt Burke. A lot of trust there, a lot of trust. But Cap has been dialed in with the offense and just monitoring its progress. I think he's been pleased with what he's seen, dating back to that last day or two in the Greenbrier. And we got to shout out, those screen calls have been executed a lot better with Nick Caley. Blocking outside on the edge from a receiver standpoint has been there. So shout out to the relationship that Nick Caley and Ben McDaniels has been able to grow and cultivate with one another. But when I see these screen calls, I do see fast, physical, and getting a feel, which is very important. But, Coach, that defense, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, not a passer rating over 66, if that matters for you guys. I know it's preseason, but just giving you the numbers. But here's what matters. We're going to talk about what matters here on the Locked On Texans podcast, right? 1 of 10 on third down for the Panthers. 1 of 10 on third down for the Panthers. And, well, the starters were not out there the entire time, right? We saw it. The starters were not out there. So does that matter in a preseason game? It absolutely does, because depth is life. Depth is life. And this defense, guys, they deep. The defense is deep. Texans defense allowed 3.6 yards per play. And with that, without naming starters, Miles Bryant, Sean, D'Angelo Ross made some impactful plays, right? 2 depth players at the cornerback position, a group that also features rookie Jalen Smith, who got his first interception on Saturday, right? And I got one thing about me, I love being wrong when there's something being wrong good about. Did I say that right? Hopefully I did. But when Texans drafted Jalen Smith, I said, hey, man, I need a CB3 to play outside. A lot of inside nickel vibes from that young man. But I forget that DeMeco Ryans is the ultimate DC. Y'all may be looking at defensive coordinator when I say DC, but when I say DC, developmental coach. He's got him right on the outside. Shout out to Dino Vasso. Don't know how long they're going to be able to keep him on that coaching staff. But to see Jalen Smith continue to grow in this role, playing outside, I think is very important. You got 3 guys in that room who gave Houston, some good tape to assess their value with. Between the 3 of them, they only allowed 17 yards. And the real stars, when you got a room that features Azeez Al-Shaair, EJ Speed, Henry To'oTo'o, Jamal Hill, and Christian Harris when he's ready to go, you have a room full of reliable options at the second level who can play the run downhill consistently without losing gap integrity and can drop back in coverage consistently without giving up big plays consistently. That linebacker room is just as dangerous as that edge room right now, guys. Right now. So when I look at my biggest takeaway from Saturday's preseason game, it is 100%, speaking of the defensive side of the ball, it is 100% that, hey, Houston, led by Nick Caserio, looked at their roster defensive depth and said, how can this roster have better reinforcements? Free agency moves like EJ Speed, Darrell Taylor, brought back Sheldon Rankins, Fola Fatukasi, Barnett on 1-year deals. Give Houston the reinforcements they need to be able to rotate and be prepared, and also be able to continue to stay aggressive. Underrated move may end up being EJ Speed. And again, that depth allows for Houston to stay aggressive. I noticed that even when the starters were out, Matt Burke continued to create pressure from a play calling standpoint, dialing up blitzes from the edge, sending Miles Bryant on the disguise pressure. Like, when you got a trustworthy group, you got a group that is scary. How are offenses going to game plan for a defensive coordinator and a defensive coach who doesn't fear maybe certain play calls because they don't have a problem with the guys they got out there? Even if that player isn't your CB1 or CB2, my CB3 can do the same thing. Once I, put him in a position to not expose him, of course, I think that matters, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see a better job of that this year. We ain't even talked about Jalen Petrie and how important and impactful he'll be on first and second downs, because Miles Bryant has been phenomenal for Houston. He's been very trustworthy for Houston. Depth matters. And that's the small detail of why this defense will be scary in a potential top 5 defense in the NFL this year. Top 5 defense in the NFL, you got the R&B group on the other side, the Stroud Knights, the Caley Knights. I don't know, but I'm going to call them an R&B group, the Rhythm and Balance group. They are going to have to score points. They can't be 8th in the NFL in punts per game this year, of course. Like, that's a given. Keeping your defense off the field as much as they were last year is very important. But when you have a group that allows for a coach to say, you know what, Daniil come off, Taylor go in. Will come off, Barnett or Danico Autry, y'all go in. I need to give my guys a break. I need to rotate y'all in. Foley, Sheldon, Mario Edwards, Tim Settle, rotating between those guys. Tommy T, he's in that mix now. At the linebacker spot, you got 4 to 5 linebackers that you can trust. The pressure that they can continue to create, especially if they're playing with a lead, a 10-point lead, you may see this team get crazy on defense because they got the guys they can trust. That's where the real improvement of this defense is, and I think Saturday was a perfect example, albeit against guys that may not make the roster or second team guys on the team. You still see the trust there for the depth players, and I think that's very important. When we come back, who earned a paper Saturday? I'll tell you who I was most impressed by to close out today's show. More Locked On Texans talk today. All right, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, this episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is here. We're in the thick of preseason. That means fantasy football season is back in full swing. This year, fantasy football is turning up with Yahoo Fantasy, with a fantasy football experience like never before. Drop your emails if you're down. I got about 6 slots left between 2 leagues. If you want to get in on the Locked On Texas Swarm Fantasy League, drop your emails in the comment section. But, we're going to be playing on Yahoo, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. One of my favorite features this year, I can't wait to join a public league, the new Guillotine League. They just dropped. Every week, the lowest scored team is eliminated, and the last one standing wins. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And again, to kick it off, they dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lower scored team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season here, now is the time to get your league together. Give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/locked-on. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. I'm excited for you guys, man. I cover this team. I want to see this team do well. I want to see this team this year have a real shot to making the AFC Championship game. 3 years into the CJ Stroud, DeMeco Ryans experience, I think that's a realistic goal for them. They are a top 5 team in the AFC based off of how things ended last year. You're looking at Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, and then after that, maybe you could say 4. Houston over Cincy. Am I missing anybody? I don't think I'm missing anybody. So Houston is a top 5 AFC team. We've seen some AFC South play this weekend. Nothing scares me, and y'all kill me when I said, hey, man, I think that they may, drop a game against Tennessee or drop a game against Jacksonville. Those 2 teams always play Houston hard. Every division game is played hard. But they may just sweep the division. They may go 6-0 in the AFC South. They're going to do that with players they can trust when their stars not out on the field. And then, of course, just putting their stars in the best position to make their jobs easier. I think that's what I like the most about Nick Caley and Nick Caley Knights, the R&B group. When I looked at that scoring drive, nothing was hard. I'm going to dump it off to Christian Kirk. I'm going to hand it off to Nick Chubb, who's going to run behind an offensive line room that's playing well, right? Run blocking well. I'm a throw a beautiful throw on an even better route to the rookie Jaden Higgins. A lot of y'all have been like, man, we hadn't heard a lot about Jaden Higgins. What's going on? He just showed y'all what he can do. Through 18 games, 17 games, plus the playoffs, Higgins is going to be all right. And at the time of this recording, the John Mechie news broke. So on the following show, I'll dive into that because I'm kind of sad about that. But what I'm excited about is to talk about who earned their paper. Who earned their paper? What players went out there and when they got the opportunity to show their value to this team when it matters, who did that? Who earned their bread? Listen here, man. Last week, talking to my man Cole Thompson, over he works on 790 and does Texan Wire. He said, man, right now Blake Fisher, if Trent Brown was healthy, he's not a top 9 offensive lineman. Well, Blake Fisher earned his paper. Blake earned his paper. 1 QB hit, 3 pressures, 4 hurries in the first preseason game, plus a penalty. Zeros across the board in those departments against Carolina. Plus a 78 pass blocking grade, a nearly 60 run blocking grade. You look at the grades, you look at the stats, and we can go based off of that. But what I saw from Blake Fisher was an offensive lineman that knew exactly what the hell he needed to do and did it with tenacity without second thinking himself. One of the better, like when I looked at that offensive line, and I think that they did a very good job for the most part through 4 quarters, but obviously looking at that first unit, what I really enjoyed was seeing Carolina try to dial up pressure in the offensive line, knowing who to take on in their assignment when a player is brought on the stun or twist. That, you want to talk about issues from 2024? You want to talk about what led to CJ Stroud having, 56 unblocked pressures? It was that. Teams were just stunt twist, pressure on the inside, pressure on the outside. Like, that was a problem, right? And Jake Andrews, man, listen, when I know. When it comes to the offensive line play, when I'm right, I'm right. What he provides in run support is very important. But if y'all remember what I said, Jake Andrews is also going to provide the communication and IQ from a pass blocking perspective so the rest of the offensive line can be ready to go. And when I look at Blake Fisher compared to his first week last week, and he was out there with the starters, I see a player that just knew what his assignment was. No second guessing. No, is it the inside guy right now? Is it the outside guy? It was none of that. And because of that, you saw Blake Fisher move bodies out the way. Let the bodies hit the flow. That's what you saw from Blake Fisher. Like, Ursery was so good. My boy Barrett the Bully said he was unnoticeable. That's how good he was. So we had to notice Blake Fisher, and I was very impressed by Blake Fisher and his improvement from the week 1 to week 2 of preseason. I think he earned his paper. Don't know what the final 5 will look like. I think Blake Fisher should absolutely play in that 3rd preseason game. But does Houston find themselves in a predicament, in a situation where they flirt with Blake Fisher, Titus Howard, Andrews, Thomason, Ursery to kick off week 1? I'm just spitballing. Maybe I'm doing too much. Whatever. Who else earned that paper? Last week I said, hey, man, running backs, pass protection is very important, especially for you young backs trying to get out on that field. If they can't trust you on 3rd down to be able to pick up a blitz or pick up a leak, man, then you ain't going to find yourself out there a lot. That's important. Not going to downplay it. But running backs get their paper when they can run that ball. That's what I said, right? Y'all remember that? So I got to shout out the young boy, Woody Marks. Gotta shot him out. 7 carries, 40 yards. The longest run on the day with 12 yards, 5.7 yards per carry. And it wasn't a lot of scat backing going on, right? It wasn't a lot of dancing and everything. Like the R&B was flowing through him. The tempo was flowing through him. But it wasn't a lot of dancing. It was straight work. I'm running to where I need to be. I'm hitting the hole, and I'm getting there. Impressed by that young man. And when I say I'm impressed by that young man, Houston is going to have some hard decisions. John Mechie was one of them, sending him to Philly. Again, we'll talk about that in the following show. But Nick Chubb performed well, ran well, right? Shout out to Wade Phillips because he brought this idea up, and I'll get to it. Woody Marks with his opportunity ran the ball well. Jawar Jordan, 5 carries, 15 yards on the day, 3 yards per carry, long of 5. Again, by the time he got out there, he was behind an offensive lineman that may not make the roster, and I get that. But Marks ran the ball well, and how he ran the ball was what impressed me the most. Hitting the hole, getting to the second level, not messing around. We know that he can catch out of the backfield. A lot of us believe that's his best attribute. He can pass block. Nick Chubb showed, I got something left. What does Houston do with Dameon Pierce? Wade Phillips said, I'm sorry, not Wade Phillips. Wade Smith said, hey, listen, maybe they put him on PUP to start the year off, 4 games. You can't play in those 4 games. From that, what does that look like for Houston? They'll figure out if Nick Chubb can hold up, what Woody Marks could do, if Joe Mixon is ready to go. But I think Woody Marks' performance gave us an insight into why they view him the way that they did, why they drafted him, and how important he could be for the Houston Texans offense. I think Blake Fischer and Woody Marks earned their paper on Saturday. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment, whether you're my audio listeners or my viewers. I appreciate y'all. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas fans across the nation. Peace.